West San Francisco Street, a narrow, iconic strip of road in Santa Fe that was once home to a thriving cinema culture. It was here that Errol Flynn poked his head out of a covered wagon to welcome 60,000 fans outside the Lensic Theater, there for the premiere of his movie, Santa Fe Trail. It was here, a few blocks away, that the city's first true cinema house, the Paris Theater, opened in 1914. More than a century later, in the city's rail yard district, Santa Fe's newest movie house, the Violet Crown, offers cinema lovers a new kind of experience, including reserved seats, cocktails, and comfort food. But it is just the latest chapter in a long, rich history of movie theaters in the city different. It is a story of innovation, entertainment, and fierce rivalries. And no figure casts a longer shadow in this tale than Nathan Salmon. Together with his son-in-law, E. John Greer, Salmon dominated the local movie theater business for decades. Salmon got his start as a pushcart peddler in the 1880s and quickly rose in Santa Fe's business world. Early on, he saw the potential of motion pictures, which in the giddy days before statehood had been largely confined to community opera houses equipped with film projectors. In 1914, he opened the Paris Theater at 123 West San Francisco Street. The theater had more than 1,000 seats in a town whose population swung somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000. There were no concessions and no air conditioning. The Paris's enormous success emboldened Salmon and others. It was the roaring 20s and amusement houses were popping up throughout the city. In 1921, car dealer James Castle Jr. began building a new theater on the northwest corner of the plaza. Adorned with twin Spanish Pueblo Revival mission towers, it was called El Oñate. But within a year, Salmon took control of the lease and closed the theater down to keep it from competing with the Palace and another of his nearby theaters, the Rialto. After long and bitter negotiations, Castle sued in federal court in 1926. Salmon prevailed, and by then the 60-year-old tycoon was undergoing a bold renovation of the Paris. The new Paris featured a candy shop, a shoe-shining parlor, and modern cooling and heating systems. In 1929, it premiered Santa Fe's first talkie, Universal Studios Broadway. A poignant photograph of the theater shot in 1945 shows a line of children waiting outside for a matinee. Later that year, a fire destroyed the building. Salmon emerged from the El Oñate lawsuit as the dominant player in the Santa Fe movie market. Joined by his son-in-law, E. John Greer, he opened the Lensic Theater in June 1931. The name is composed of the initials of Salmon's 6 grandchildren. The Lensic was filled with what newspaper accounts said at the time were so many luxuries it was hard to enumerate them all. Men wore tuxedos and women formal gowns for the opening. The Lensic instantly became the focus for Santa Fe's social, cultural, and entertainment scenes. In 1939, Salmon and Greer began construction on a new cinema across the street called the Alley Theater on Burrough Alley. The smaller alley was the poor relation to the regal Lensic, but by 1950 it had found its own niche, screening Spanish-language films. In 1948, 3 years after fire destroyed the Paris, Salmon and Greer Enterprises rebuilt the theater and opened it as the El Paseo. More theaters would come and go, and more lawsuits and rivalries. Today, Santa Fe offers a rich variety of movie-going experiences, unusual for a town this size. And the theaters, even with the opening of the Violet Crown, operate mostly in peace. Salmon, who died in 1941, has long since left the stage, but his masterpiece, The Lensic, lives on after it was completely renovated in a community effort led by Bill and Nancy Zeckendorf. The site of the Paris Theater, where Salmon's movie empire began 101 years earlier, still preserves the walls of the El Paseo Theater, and so much more.